What's up, guys? My name is Alina Smith. For those that don't know, I'm a producer and songwriter for acts like ITZY, Red Velvet, Produce 101, Sunmi, Classy, and many, many others. I always forget all the artists I've written for. On this channel, we discuss all things music production and songwriting. So if you're not subscribed yet, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. All right, guys, so today's video has been very much requested by many of you, and the topic is how you can make it as a songwriter in the music industry. I do the big old quotation marks because what is really the definition of make it? Is it topping the Billboard charts in America, global? Is it a Grammy? Is it a monetary amount that you make? I don't really know what it is, but basically how you can, be a professional that makes a living writing songs. I've tried to think of different ways to structure this video, and I will have several topics throughout, but mostly this is just really gonna be like a hang, conversation, story time, combination of all those things. And hopefully throughout it, I can just sprinkle in some really, really useful information for you guys about how I found my successes, the people around me, how they found their successes, and hopefully it will help you be on your way to being a professional songwriter. So yeah, without further ado, let's just get straight into it. All right, guys, so let's just jump straight into it. So you want to be a professional songwriter, you don't really know where to start. I get this question asked like almost every day on social media, and I've been there. I came to America from a different country like 17, almost 18 years ago, and that was the first thing on my mind. Like, I want to be a musician, I want to be a singer, I want to be a songwriter. What do I even do? And at that time we had books we could buy. We didn't really have the internet developed to the degree that it is now. So, I'm glad I can pass on a little bit of the wisdom. But I think the very first thing I want to pass on to you guys, and I'm going to say this without sounding hopefully like a bitch and with as much love as I can. And the thing is, if you're just starting out, most likely your writing is not good enough yet to be on a professional level. I, in my entire career so far, 17, 18 years, have not met a single beginning songwriter that really knows what they're doing to the level that they would need to know to be a professional. They can be extremely talented. I've met people like that you can just see like the spark of something really amazing there. You can see the raw talent, but all talent takes development, and development takes years, period. I've never in my life met somebody for whom it has taken less than several years. I have met people that have sort of lucked into successes, pretty early on in their lives and in their careers. That does happen. But I'm really talking about having a career as a songwriter and sustaining that career and knowing that you can sustain that career over and over and over again, year after year. That's what I'm talking about. Luck can always happen, but unfortunately, a lot of the times when people are just lucky, they happen into something, they can't back it up and they can't continue it because they don't have the skills. Now, why do I say you most likely don't have the skills yet? Well, there's just so much that goes into being a professional songwriter that is very veiled and takes just lots and lots of experience to achieve. For example, one of those things is song sense. I don't think I've ever met a young developing songwriter whose song sense was at the level that it needs to be at. Now, what is even song sense? Well, basically, in layman's terms, it's being able to tell what's good in a song and what's not. And this is very arbitrary, of course, right? Because there's so many genres, there's so many different types of music. So I'm really just talking about commercial songwriting, pop music, pop rock, pop punk, K-pop, pop R&B, anything that you're aspiring to just be very widely spread and commercial. It really applies to that, but honestly, I think it applies to just about any genre of music. Song sense encompasses very, very many things in it. That's why it's so sort of amorphous and hard to even explain. So it's hearing a song and knowing when a melody in the verse is strong enough or not strong enough. It's knowing that a transition from a pre-chorus to a chorus feels awkward. It's knowing that a song needs a bridge or doesn't need a bridge. It's knowing that the energy of the song is calling for something else, whether it's a dance break or like a wacky different kind of section. It's knowing which lyrics are really saying what you're trying to say to the fullest extent. It's knowing which ones are a little bit and could be improved. It's knowing what's cheesy. It's knowing what might sound dated. It's knowing what might sound too trendy. It's choosing a track when you're working with a producer. It's knowing which one has potential and which one is just So and there's probably other things I'm forgetting. I mean, from rhythms to specific cadences to internal rhyming, to soft rhyming, to genre specific knowledge, to adjusting things for specific projects, specific labels, specific A&Rs. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on. It is quite a fully encompassing skill. So, I feel like I've just been negative and been intimidating you guys this entire time. So let's talk about some action items. Let's talk about some things you can do to develop this song sense. Well, I think the natural place to start is analyzing other songs, right? This is something that a lot of people neglect. I think a lot of people, from what I see, think that they know what makes a good song a lot more than they actually do, right? Just because you know a song as a fan does not mean you know it in this sort of like technical sense, almost like from the viewpoint of its construction, right? It's kind of like looking at a beautiful building and being like, that's a great building, like it's beautiful colors, I like these columns, I like these windows, versus being an architect. I don't know anything about architecture. I can be like, cool building, but you asked me to build something, I wouldn't know where to start. So it's kind of a thing like that. So definitely pulling in songs and analyzing them. What you can do is you can go section by section and you can listen to different elements so you don't get overwhelmed, right? If you're just a songwriter, you're not really focusing on production, you don't have to pay attention to that part as much. So you really are paying attention to melody and lyrics. I see this a lot too. This is always baffling to me, but I see this from a lot of young songwriters. They neglect melody to like an extent that makes no sense to me. They'll hear a track, they know what a track is, right, from a producer, and they know what lyrics are, but they always talk about writing lyrics to a track, and I'm like, unless you're even a rapper, no, you have cadences to your rap. You can't just write lyrics. You're not a spoken word artist, and even then they have cadences. There's nothing that you can do really with words in songs that at least doesn't require some sense of melody or some sense of rhythm. And most songs, you really need to write a melody. And I've had a lot of people being even confused about, that part and how to get better at that. And again, it's one of those things where you need to just listen to the things you love the most. Pick the songs that you really, truly love. Don't take things you don't like that much. Don't just look at what is popping off on TikTok. There's many reasons things pop off, and a lot of them have nothing to do with quality of music. Let's be real about that. Look at the things you love. It can be classic songs, it can be songs that are popular right now. And look at every section with a very critical eye, right? Why does this melody sound so good next to this melody, right? Why does it flow so well into this pre-chorus from this verse, right? And you can suddenly realize, oh, well, it's because this melody lifts higher, right? Or it's because the rhythm changes. It was very like slow paced and suddenly it's become very rhythmic. There's a lot of things you can pick up on. And what I recommend is you make yourself a list of these types of techniques that you really enjoyed and songs that you like, because my guess is if you really liked hearing it, you will like writing it. So yeah, let's say if you really like big rhythmic changes, write a song that has a big rhythmic change, that goes from da 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 to da 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 da. I'm just literally making stuff up on the spot. But you know what I'm trying to say, like the techniques, take the principles and apply them to your own work. The same goes for lyrics. Let's say you really enjoy Taylor Swift. Ask yourself why. there's a reason. It's not that you just like it, blanket statement, right? You might like the descriptiveness of her lyrics. You might like the perspectives she's writing from. If it's one of the more recent albums, you might enjoy writing from a third person perspective, like a story almost. You might like the repetition of certain lyrics. It sounds catchy. You might like the phonetics of certain words. You just really enjoy how that word sounds with that melody. Write all those things down. Again, take these principles and apply them to your own work. Okay, so let's say you've done this work now, and I'm sure some of you guys have already done this work, and I apologize if this seemed like, boo boo baba beginner stuff. Let's continue. So at this point, if you've done this work, you should be able to self-assess and know what your strengths are. And I want you guys to be very, very honest with yourself, because even the most brilliant people that I know have a particular set of strengths. Even if they've been in the industry for 20 years and they have a lot of strengths, there are certain things that they do that are so unique to them that have like their own signature, almost sonic signature to it, that it's just this next level brilliance that comes out of them, right? There's a songwriter that I work with all the time, Gino Barletta, who is just amazing at US pop songs, like very catchy melodies that also sound timeless, that also sound effortless, and also sound really cool. I don't know how else to describe it. What he writes just hits all of those points so well. It's cool, it's timeless, it's interesting, and it's well said. So, that's a very good strength to have, obviously. And he's my age, he's been developing it for 18, 17 years, something like that. But, in the beginning, it might just be that, for example, for me, I was always naturally good at catchy melodies. The very first songs I wrote, like the first 5-10 songs I wrote, they had natural repetition to them that I didn't even know what I was doing. I didn't know any of this. I didn't study. I just knew how to write things that would stick into your mind, probably just by having consumed a lot of music like that. And some of my very first cuts, songs recorded by other artists, came when I was still a teenager, and they were just these very catchy, sort of repetitive songs that had melodies that would stick with you. So, and I've known that this was my strength for a long time, and to be honest, it is still my strength. I don't really struggle so much with these sort of just catchy, easy melodies. I really struggled with lyrics. It makes sense. English was my first language, so the first lyrics that I wrote in English, they weren't even proper English. I had this song, I was 15, but it was called 7 Miles Away of Broxville instead of from Broxville. It's cute, but that was not a natural strength. I can do it quite well now, and it's something I had to develop for over a decade. Even now, there are people that I know who can just sort of spit on the track, and it's brilliant, and I have to sit there and think about it. So there you go. So once you have honestly assessed your strengths, this is when you start combining them with the strengths of other people. This is where you go into collaboration, into sessioning. Now, if you're aspiring to be any sort of commercial songwriter, you will be in sessions. You will not be writing by yourself. The end, period. There's nobody that I know that writes by themselves. I do write by myself for my own artist project. I would not write for other projects by myself. I've done it a little bit, but it sort of doesn't make sense because one of the things you do as a professional songwriter is you write a lot of songs. I write probably 80 to 100 songs a year. And in order to do that, especially for K-pop, which is what I'm really focused on right now, you need a team. There's production, which I'm also part of, that is really involved and really intricate. There is vocal arrangement that takes a lot of time. It takes a long time to create a demo that sounds how it needs to sound to sell. So knowing that, I work in teams because, we delegate. This person is doing more of the track. This person is recording. This person is mixing, yada, yada, yada. So when you know what your strengths are, let's say it's melody writing, like it was for me, what you need to do is find people that supplement your weaknesses. Like for me, it used to be lyrics, right? So, and I wish I had known this because I didn't know I was bad at lyrics. Yeah, I knew, when I was first starting out and used improper English. But several years later, when I was fluent, and I could write fluent English lyrics, they were still not good. They were just kind of cheesy. They were very banal, and they weren't interesting. They weren't about topics that were unique or fresh in any way. Which, it makes sense. It's really hard to do that when English is not your first language. I had to go to Nashville and work with specifically like lyricists in Nashville to really like get that. So, but let's say your strength is just melody writing. You need to find people to collaborate with that are good at lyrics. And let's say if you're not a track person, you also need to find producers. So how do you do that? Well, luckily now, unlike it was back in the day for me, the internet is a really open place. Everybody's on the internet and everybody makes themselves available to be approached. Not everybody, of course. A lot of people who are very, very successful are hard to approach. But I think a lot of people in the beginning think, I need somebody, who's successful to help me. And that can happen. There's definitely mentorship situations that can help you out. I do recommend, though, even if you are seeking mentorship from people that are more successful, to also work with people that are sort of in the same place as you, right? Starting out, developing, intermediate, whatever it may be, because there's something really amazing about growing together with somebody. I mean, Elli, my partner, and I, we did that when we started LYRE. I was a bit more advanced in my skills than she was because I'm a lot older than she is. But, I didn't have that much more success than she did. So we figured a lot of the industry out together. And what that does, it creates an amazing bond. Now as we go on and we have other challenges and new experiences, and, like she signed a record deal now, we are learning things that we haven't dealt with before together, as opposed to individually. So that really, really helps. You can approach people on TikTok. You can approach people on Instagram. There's people like me that are content creators on YouTube as well. You can definitely find people, and also don't ignore word of mouth. Still, to this day, a lot of the people I collaborate with are just people that got introduced to me by somebody I know. I'm definitely a little bit more open than I think a lot of pros or whatever. I will definitely read DMs. I will check people out. I probably at this point will not collaborate with somebody unless they have a track record. But that's not to say that you shouldn't reach out to people, and a lot of the times, going back to the point about word of mouth, a lot of the times I trust word of mouth a lot more than just a DM or something. So I encourage you, if you already have a collaborator, if you have a friend, asking them, hey, is there anybody else you could recommend that I try a session with? That is very, very powerful, because a lot of the times people might think of somebody that, is a perfect partner for you. So you should definitely ask. Don't be afraid. So a few words about sessioning. I've talked about doing sessions in other videos before, but it's definitely a skill in itself, doing sessions as a songwriter. And it's something that, you will have to just try out and not get discouraged by, because there, especially in the beginning, there are a lot more challenging sessions than just great easy ones, right? Because a lot of the times you're collaborating with people that are also figuring things out. So maybe they don't, let's say if they're a track person, they don't really know how to do this bass sound that you're really wanting in the song, so that can be a challenge if you don't know and they don't know. It's blind leading the blind. But also at the same time, I will say this is really important for you and your collaborators, because you can't always, even if, let's say, you do have a mentor, right? You can't always rely on your mentor to do everything for you, fix everything for you. At the end of the day, you need to develop enough skills to where you can problem solve on your own without somebody helping you. So just being in these sessions and being man, how do we do this? How do we create this bass sound? How do we write a top line over this? Why does this not work? That is a really useful skill to have. So I really encourage you guys not to get frustrated if the songs you're getting back from your initial sessions are not, sounding like popular songs on Spotify, right? Most likely, I will tell you right now, they won't. I would be very surprised if they did. None of my early songs sounded like hits. None of the songs of anybody I know sounded like hits in the beginning. As somebody who is a professional now, I can hear through rough demos. I can hear what can be done to make it better. I can hear talent too. A lot of the times I'll hear something rough and I'll be like, man, that person's talented because they wrote this melody. Yeah, they didn't tie it together very well with this section, but man, this is really good. So, don't be discouraged. That's really like the point. Just kind of work at it, grind at it, and it will get better if you're diligent enough. Now, I want to get more into sort of like the business of songwriting, because I know a lot of you guys have been asking me, how do I pitch songs to artists? How do I meet record labels? All of these things. So let's jump into that. So let's talk about how pitching songs works. Now, traditionally, pitching songs is how music industry functioned, right? Going back to, let's say, brill building days. If you guys don't know, back in the day in New York in, I want to say the 60s, Carole King, writers like that were basically in this publishing company building in New York, and they were just writing songs, and those songs were sent out to artists and record labels, and artists would just record them if it was good. Unfortunately, it's not worked that way anymore. The only place it sort of works like that is K-pop. That's why I do so much of it, because you can just write a good song and it gets cut. It's great. A lot of artists that are from the West want to write their own songs, and it can be great because some of them are really great writers, and it can also be frustrating because some of them are not very great writers. They don't know what they're doing. And the way it works is that you're put into rooms with people that don't write or barely write, and it's up to you to figure out their style, what they need to say, how they need to sing, all of these things. And it can be quite challenging, especially if you're young. So these are really the only two paths you can take: write with artists or write for pitch for specific markets that take pitch. Now, I mentioned K-pop. That's obviously one that you can write for pitch for. Film and television is another market you can write for pitch for. Sounds weird. You guys know what I'm trying to say. I have not done this very much because I've been in a publishing deal for most of my professional career, and I only left last year. So I've had songs in TV, film, but I haven't specifically done the sync grind. There's writers that just do this. Basically, they get briefs that are usually very quick turnaround, like a day or so, and they're being asked to create a song for a specific scene in a show, for a commercial, things like that, and they're given parameters like, oh, it needs to sound like Taylor Swift meets Ariana Grande, and it needs to have a quick tagline that talks about the flavor of life, or something that if it's for a brand, they'll give you like specific instructions. So you definitely can do that for pitch as well. There are also other markets that might take outside songs. Like I had one that almost got cut with a big Indian artist. I had several songs in Spain come out with a group there. Most Western markets, like US and UK specifically, the artists want to write, so you want to get in the room with them. So how do you do that, and how do you even meet people that will give you opportunities to pitch songs, for K-pop or sync or things like that? So I recommend in the beginning to try to meet these types of situations, find these types of situations through other creative people. I say this all the time. I feel like I talk about this all the time, but I'm going to talk about it again because I really want you guys to understand this. I want this to sink in. Most people in the music industry, music supervisors, publishers, managers, record labels, they truly do not want to hear from developing songwriters and producers. I hate to be this harsh, but I'd rather you guys heard it from me than from them, or just wondered, why is nobody writing me back, Their lives are extremely busy. They have the projects they're working on. They really don't have time to develop anybody. This is a problem in our industry that's not currently being solved. I try to do my best with advice like this and mentoring people that I do in real life, but it's rough out there for development. I'll be real with you guys. It's sort of like on you to develop, right, your skills and to really be ready. Because when you are ready and you do have success, a lot of people want to hear from you. It's really not so hard to send a cold email or something like that. But in the beginning, people want to see credentials, and if you don't have them, what do you do? So what you do is you stick with your collaborators, right? You go through the creative side, because even if your collaborators are still kind of in the same place as you. You guys are all figuring stuff out. Eventually, somebody will meet an opportunity, will find an opportunity. And there's so many ways it can work, right? Let's say if your collaborator's a singer and they release a song and suddenly pops off on TikTok, suddenly they meet a record label. Suddenly they meet a manager. Boom. And now you as their collaborator has an in into the industry, right? I also find that people in the industry tend to be very precious with their relationships. And listen, you have to understand, building relationships takes a long time. You have to invest into your relationships with people. And a lot of the times they're very close too, right? You kind of like value that person. You don't want to waste their time by bringing them something that they might not be interested in. But I do find that creative people are a lot more open about usually sharing like what they have, right? I personally love to link people up, right? I love to link people up to write. Sometimes it's, other more like successful, developed writers and producers. Sometimes, I do mentor, develop people. I help as much as I can, right? And I will oftentimes hook up developing people with other developing people that I've met. Be like, oh, you're interested in K-pop and you're a songwriter. You're interested in K-pop and you're a producer. Go write. So a lot of the times, your collaborators are the ones that are going to bring you the opportunities, right? Just today, I heard from my collaborator about some TV show that is wanting to use a song that we wrote together. I don't know those music supervisors. I don't know that team, but now through my collaborator, I might get to know them and then I could work with them. The two of us could work with them. That's pretty much how it works. So don't get too hung up on, oh, no manager wants to sign me right now or no publisher is interested in me. It's okay because they are only interested in, people that are ready to make them money right now. So, and if you're still developing, you're not in that category quite yet. So don't be discouraged and just meet other creative people. And also, honestly, be a good person. I know this is like a kind of a weird thing to like bring up, but if you can help somebody out by connecting them with somebody and it's no skin off your nose, do it, right? Do it. Like if you have a friend and you think they'll write well with this other friend, just hook them up because something about that, I guess it's just good karma. When you do things like that, others think of you as somebody that's helped them out. So when they have an opportunity, they'll bring it to you as well. You don't have to be so mercantile about it. You could just do it because you want to. A lot of the times I'll just be like, oh, I think you should meet this person. I like think about what I'll get out of it. But a lot of the times something does end up working out where, oh, like I get an opportunity too out of it. Cool. I didn't think of that, So I'll quickly just go over a few other things more on the business side for you guys. So publishing deals, I did make one video about publishing deals, specifically my own. I'll link it in whatever this thing called up top there. I'm a professional YouTuber, you guys. I will link it for you. You can watch that video. But basically publishing deals, to explain it, they're kind of like record deals for songwriters. They sign you, they own either all of your publishing, which if you don't know what that is, please look it up. Or they own a piece of it, and in exchange for that, they pitch your songs, they set up sessions for you, they hook you up with collaborators. It can be quite useful, I think, for, songwriters that are either getting started and they just really need an in into the industry, or songwriters that are very established and they just need to like even go the next step, go to like from B level to A level, right? So I do think publishing deals can be quite challenging to get. The way that I've seen people get them here in LA is they just move here. They write for 2 to 3 years. They do the sessioning that I've mentioned, the collaborating. Eventually they meet a collaborator's publisher. They write 10 songs with that collaborator and the publisher's like, oh, those are good songs. Like, what are you doing? What's going on with you? A lot of the times too, this happened to me when I was a teenager. I had some songs released in Japan that I did with a producer who was signed with this particular publisher, and this publisher wanted to sign me because they wanted to represent my portion of the songs and to represent me for future songs and future collaborations. So your best shot with that is through the industry. I will say though that with publishing deals, there's this lovely aspect of them called recoupment. Because usually you get an advance as a songwriter. Not always. You can do like non-exclusive deals, things that don't require a publisher to give you an advance. But if it's an exclusive deal, most likely you will want an advance. If you're a new writer, your advance will be low. Like I've seen anything from like 20 grand a year to like 75 grand a year, which if you live in LA, trust me, that is not a lot. You can't really live on 20 grand a year. So, and what recoupment is basically, it's not free money. It isn't like a salary, like, oh, write some songs and here's your salary. It is basically an advance against your royalties. So, let's say you do write a song that makes 50 grand and your publisher paid you 50 grand when they signed you, they keep that 50 grand from the song, right? So that's how it works. And a lot of the times what I've seen, watch out for this, is writers will sign these recoupable deals and then they don't recoup. Very, 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 very common. They don't recoup. And they were stuck in this deal because they have to recoup to be able to leave the deal. And if they haven't had a hit, they're stuck. They have to be in this deal and they don't get paid anymore. And they just have to hope that something that they write pops off. But even then, when it pops off, they won't make any money from it. They'll make a little bit on the writing side, BMI, performance stuff, royalties, stuff like that. But they won't get any of their publishing. Their publisher will keep all of it. So it can create some really tense situations. I've definitely seen people quit because of things like that. Contractually, they just are so tied up that they can't do anything. So just be careful. I'll touch on managers real quick too. There's artist managers, obviously, that everybody kind of knows what that is, but writer managers act like a publisher. Basically, they set up sessions for you, they pitch your songs, but instead of getting a piece of the publishing of those songs, they just get a management percentage, usually from 10 to 20%. I've seen managers take 20% for, developing writers. It's more like 10 or 15 for people that already have a career. And you can negotiate too. Like I've seen more successful writers say, hey, I get a lot of my own cuts. Like I don't need somebody taking a percent of that. You only get a percent of what you bring in. That's called procured cuts. So that can also be a situation as well. I think a manager can be very helpful in the beginning. Also because it doesn't really, well, depending on the contractual terms, don't like quote me, I'm not a lawyer, but it doesn't quite usually tie you up as badly as a publishing deal. In all of this, I will also say, absolutely get a lawyer. I know they're very expensive, and a lot of people feel intimidated and they don't hire a lawyer and then they just sign something and then they can find themselves in a really bad situation. Just to like give you guys an example, this is from a different industry, but I've seen things like that in the music industry too. When I was a kid, a teenager, I signed a modeling contract with somebody and I didn't really have a lawyer. I didn't really read it. And what I didn't realize is that deal had basically had me tied up with this manager for all aspects of entertainment industry, music, acting, not just modeling. So I met a lawyer who said, hey, this is like kind of screwed up. Like you should get out of this deal. And then I brought it up to the manager and she said, well, I spent a lot of money on you. You need to pay me back. And she didn't have receipts or anything, but she was just like, oh, I spent whatever it was, $2,000 on sending out your pictures to, for people to hire you as a model, which I'm not sure if that's true. Like $2,000 for pictures. And back then that was like $4,000 now with inflation and stuff. So questionable. Right. And that wasn't even like that bad of an instance. I've definitely seen deals that tie people up for a long time, prevent them from getting into other deals, prevent them from leaving. So, obviously you have to realize the manager has to get something out of it. Obviously, especially if you're new and they're taking a chance on you, like it has to be fair for them as well, but it can't like screw you over so bad that you can't leave ever, or, you owe them for a long time. Like, just get a lawyer. Okay, I feel like this has been a long video. It was not as structured as I wanted it to be honest, guys. I've just kind of talked about things I know about being a songwriter. So I'm going to leave you guys with just one final thought. I want y'all to make sure you really want to be a songwriter. And I will explain why. So again, not trying to be negative, but songwriters are the most screwed over professionals in the music industry out of everybody. Producers get track fees. Oftentimes, songwriters, even if they produce vocals, record vocals, are not invited to share in the track fee. Producers oftentimes get points on the master. Writers, if you don't know what that is, look that up. Writers oftentimes are not invited to share points on the master, and especially if they don't have a good manager or a lawyer, they don't even know to ask. So traditionally this was fine, like before, honestly, year 2000, like a long time ago, because people bought physical records like CDs, cassettes, all of that stuff, right? So if you had a song on a hit record, even if it wasn't a single, like if that CD sold 3 million times, you as a songwriter were getting royalties on 3 million sales, which sales and streams, very, very different, very, very different royalty wise. Another example, as far as master royalties, which is the production, like the version of recording of the song, versus publishing, just the pure song itself. Just to give you an example, I've had songs that have streamed 20 million streams. As a producer, off of a small percent on the song, I would get I don't know, $20,000, something like that, like $15,000. As a songwriter on the publishing side, I would earn like $500. So the industry is really not set up to support songwriters. I'm sure you've seen songwriters post about this a lot. I'm sure you've seen songwriters dog Spotify for not paying enough to songwriters. All of that is true. So I don't want to be negative. I don't want to discourage you guys. What I will leave you with is I would encourage you guys to learn another skill alongside with songwriting, whether it's production, whether it's singing, because you can get hired as a singer, you do voiceover. There's a lot of work you can get as a singer. I'm just thinking of your future, right? I'm thinking of your future selves and the homes you're going to want to buy and the possible children you're going to want to support. You will need money. And if you're just a songwriter, the only pure songwriters I know that have been able to support themselves have had like giant #1 hits on US radio, like number one, like the biggest songs. Everybody else that even, has successful songs that stream really well, all of that stuff, they don't see anywhere near those types of royalties. So, and there's new ways that I've also seen for songwriters to make money. For example, one of my friends makes money selling her top lines, her songs, on the site called Voclio. And on that site you can sell songs exclusively or non-exclusively. And basically I think she's had certain songs on there that she set non-exclusively for sale, and they've been bought like 150 times or something for like $50 a pop. So, there's ways like that. There's a site called Sound Better where you can be hired by artists, like independent artists, to write songs for them. So, there are ways, like songwriters that are successful charge day rates. Like I have a day rate to, just be hired for a day to work with somebody. All of those things are possible. I'm just warning you guys as far as the like official ways to make money as a songwriter. There are some issues, and hopefully they'll be worked out through legislation, but so far, it hasn't happened fully yet. Okay, guys, and that's pretty much it. As always, feel free to ask me questions in the comment box down below. If there's anything I forgot to mention, feel free to ask. If you'd like to know where I get my hair or anything else, go ahead and ask. I'm an open book. And as always, if you've liked this video, please give it a like, because it really helps the channel. It helps other people find this content. So I would really very much appreciate it. And on that, I'm gonna go. So I will see you guys in the next one. Bye for now.